let's do a review for our first test that we'll have on Tuesday. What do you need to bring for the test?
Calculator, ruler, and yourself.
Yourself, calculator, ruler, pencil, good eraser. If you don't have a ruler, use your name tag or your ID. What else? And the calculator. You can't use your phone, and you can't use the calculator on the computer. So you need to bring a calculator. The dollar store has them. Mine works okay. Somebody was in my office the other day. We were talking about technology and the price of things. And this person said one of his students argued with him that the price of everything just goes up. And he said, that's not true. I remember the first calculator that my dad brought home was in the late 70s. No, it was in the late 60s because I was still in high school. It was about this big. It was a Texas Instrument. It had an LED digital display, but it also had the heat-sensitive paper. And I think he paid about $900 for it. Was the first one. And he used it at work. You know, they had an accounting business, so he needed a calculator. Now, the little calculator that I use in my office because it's red, and I like red in my office, it came from the dollar store. So the price of that went from $900. I don't have paper on mine, but I do have the LED display, and it's smaller, and it cost $1. So the price of everything does not go up. Sometimes it does go down. So he had an argument with his student about that. All right, what's going to be on the test? You're going to have some true-false questions. You're going to have some multiple choice. When we've talked about something, and I've said that's probably a question on your test, true. Look at the summary at the back of each one of those 2 chapters. You want to turn to that. It says chapter summary. It's the last slide of the PowerPoint that I don't ever go over because it's in your book. Read that. Read the first page of the chapter and that's that introduction page because some of my questions come from there. Sarbanes-Oxley was listed on chapter 2 on that cover page for chapter 2. I said matching, but it's really multiple choice. Know your financial statements and what order you do those. What's the first one that we prepare?
Income
statement.
Income statement.
And then owner's equity.
Statement of owner's equity.
And then the balance sheet.
And then the balance sheet. And what's the new one that we did in chapter 3?
It's the general journal.
Trial balance.
The trial, or maybe we did it in chapter 2, the trial balance. Okay, and it includes everything. It's just a check to make sure that your debits and credits equal. It's an informal financial statement. Look at your vocabulary, and there's not a list of just vocabulary words at the end of the chapter. They're in blue, I think, in the chapter. Just make sure that you look at those vocabulary words because some of my questions come from there. Types of businesses. What types of business do we have out there?
Sole proprietorships.
Okay, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation. And then we had what type of a business those could be. If we're a lawn care business, service, merchandise, and manufacturing. Right, so make sure that you know all of those. We're going to prepare a trial balance, a balance sheet, an income statement, a statement of owner's equity. Which ones, looking up there at the 4th bullet, have specific dates on them? Specific dates.
Will be the balance sheet.
The balance sheet
Statement of owner's
and the trial balance. The others say for month ended and then the last day of the month, if that's when we did it. I have to give you lots of information on the test. On the test, we're doing the expanded accounting equation. But when you do the financial statements, I'll give you different numbers because if your expanded accounting equation is wrong, then all your statements are wrong. So I give you new numbers for each one of those. So if you have a mistake, it doesn't carry on to everything else. And I like to do that on the test because then I'm marking things wrong and it's because you didn't do something correct in the first step. So I always try to give you new numbers, right? So is that the correct order that we do things?
No.
No.
We do the trial balance as a check to make sure that our debits and credits equal. And then which one do we do?
Income statement.
The income statement. I should have put those in order. Did I put them in alphabetic order? No.
No.
I think I just typed it up and put them on there, okay? The next section is the ALP, the balance sheet accounts. They're permanent. How could we get rid of the out mountains? Is it impossible?
Close the business.
Nearly. Couldn't we? Even if we close the business on those out accounts, we can sell those. We can sell our accounts receivable. That's value. We could sell our customer list. And we could sell their promises to pay us. So they never really close. They're permanent. Out. Assets, liabilities, proprietorship. When you get the test and you see the balance sheet, would it be cheating to write ALP above the balance sheet? No. That's your mnemonic. That's going to help you remember. Right? The next group of accounts are the income statement accounts. They're temporary. Now, several chapters from now, we're going to close those accounts. We're going to make adjustments first, and then we're going to close them. And then we'll start off the next fiscal period with zero balances in those accounts. They're temporary. Income, cost, and expense. We don't have any cost accounts yet, and we won't until we get to chapter 11. Account normal balance. DR, CR, DR means debit, and which side is it? CR means credit, and it's the right, and we need to know where the normal balances are. What page was that, the rules of the account on in your book? I know it was in the PowerPoint, but if somebody could tell us the page, maybe you could just write the page on your study sheet. And you have this study sheet for the exam. I don't know why some of you don't have it out, because I gave it on the first or the second day of class. That's called being prepared. So you could be putting some notes on there. By the way, is there anybody that does not have a My Accounting Lab code to get into My Accounting Lab? Because one of my students brought me one yesterday and she's not going to use it. She already had it for something else, the math lab or something, and she was able to see my course in there and she didn't need to use that new code. So I have a code if anybody wants it, and she said just give it to somebody.
And then
So
the rules of the debit and credit is on page 43.
43, okay, so look on page 43, and it shows you the rules of the debits and the credits. If you don't remember those, if you can remember cash, could you figure out where the normal balance is for the other ones? I think you could. You might have to write the transaction down in the T account, or now we know how to do the journal, we know the debit and credit, maybe you could figure it out. Should you leave anything blank on my test? A multiple choice question and you're not sure, should you leave it blank?
No.
No. Yes. There's no penalty for that. The CPA exam used to be, if everybody got the question right, they didn't count it. If everybody got the question wrong, they didn't count it.
Really?
I don't know how they grade it now, but that's how it used to be. If everybody got the question correct, they didn't count it. It was too easy of a question. If everybody got it wrong, maybe it wasn't worded properly.
Oh, that's weird.
So, sometimes I think taking a test, a lot of it is luck, isn't it?
Pretty much.
I used to have students when I taught high school that would make a pretty little design on the Scantron. They probably got some correct. But process the test, look at it, narrow it down to 2 answers. When I took the National Teachers Exam, I could get the answers down to 2. And then I just had to pick the one that I thought was the most correct. I think actually it had 2 answers. That was a hard test. When I took the GRE, that was an extremely hard test to get into graduate school. And you just have to become a good test taker. Don't leave anything blank. And in accounting, we don't leave anything blank because it might be assumed that you left something off. All right, how far down are we? Correct ruling. On all of your homework assignments, the heading was on there. But on the test, you've got to put the headings on there. It's the name of the company. Then it's the name of the statement that you're doing, trial balance, statement of owner's equity, whatever it is. And then it's the date or the period. So it could be for month ended, for year ended, or for the balance sheet and the trial balance, it's a specific date. The balance sheet is a snapshot of what the company looks like on a particular day. So it has a particular date on it. My last little item on that one is straight lines when ruling. I did take off points for the crooked lines. Use your ID, your ruler, your name tent, but make them straight. Can you use your highlighter on the test? Yes. It does make it a little easier for me to find it. And your test will have the expanded accounting equation on it. We're not going to have the journal because that's chapter 3, and we don't have any T accounts that we're doing, but you'll have some questions about the T accounts. You'll have questions from chapter 2. All right, the next item is account categories, asset, liability, owner's equity. Then we had contra capital.
Can you explain contra capital again?
Mm-hmm. A contra capital account does the opposite of an account. We'll have a contra liability account eventually, a contra asset account. We'll have several contra accounts. We'll have a contra revenue account. Withdrawals is a contra account. What does it always do to the capital?
Bring it down.
It's going to bring it down. Okay, so it's a contra capital, which is the withdrawal. And then we have the revenue and expenses. They fall under the owner's equity. Expenses do what to the capital?
Increase.
Decrease it.
Yeah.
Revenue does what to capital?
Increase.
Brings it up. Okay. And then this next section, analyze the transactions using the accounting equation. It's the expanded accounting equation. On a couple of your homework pages, I wrote that I need to see your balances. We recorded the transaction, then you total each one of those columns. The 2 totals at the very bottom, how do we get that?
The footing.
We have to add up each one of those columns and then add and subtract across that expanded accounting equation. We're going to subtract on the right-hand side withdrawals and subtract expenses to get those 2 numbers to equal. And they have to equal, and they'll have a double line underneath them down at the bottom. The acid test, what accounts are affected, what's their category or classification. Does this book call it classification or category?
Yeah, it says both.
I never remember. Because some of my accounting books have the different terms. So it's still a C, but it's the category or classification. Increase or decrease debit or credit, and then what does the rule of the T account say? The accounting equation, I have it listed there. What does the income statement show, net income or net loss? And then your chart of accounts. What numbers do expenses start with?
Expenses,
What do they start with?
2. 5.
Expenses start with 5, okay? So look at that chart of accounts so you know. One thing that I probably would have put down here that you could add is what does the statement of owner's equity show? And it shows the new capital. It's the ending capital for that period that's ending, and it's the new capital for the next fiscal period. Right? Do we have any questions? If you're working on something else and not reviewing the test, you're missing out. You can go back and watch the video, but you're missing out. We're reviewing for the test, and that's so important on Tuesday. Do we have specific questions? My online students might have questions. If you do,
How many questions?
email
do you
me.
have test?
Oh, I don't remember. When you get the test, I tell you how many points each one of the sections will be worth. And then after we take the test, we'll do a little survey, and then I will try to have the test graded by Thursday, and I give you a progress report. So it'll be all of your homework that I've graded, and it will be your test. So you'll know what your average is as soon as we take the test. But I don't remember how many. It's 100 points. Be prepared. Study. Don't wait until Monday night to study. Do a little bit each day so you're not trying to cram it in. And if you've done your homework, then you have feedback from me. Look at that. See what I wrote on there. Because I try to take the time to read everything and give you feedback, such as you need to make your line straight or don't forget your dollar sign. On the homework that I gave back today, I did put the parentheses around the numbers that we're subtracting. Yes, the parentheses are better than a minus. So just put it in parentheses. And no pen. Do it in pencil.
I was wondering, will the progress report show the grades that we have for the questions that were submitted on Canvas too?
They're each worth a point.
All right.
So if you have them correct, you'll have 1 point. If you didn't have them all correct and there were 10, you'd have a 0.9.
Yeah, because I didn't see the grades so far during the Canvas.
No, I haven't recorded anything.
All right.
I haven't put any grades in Canvas yet. You've been getting grades back from me, and I don't let Canvas average my grades in here. I do it in Excel because everything's not in Canvas. Your homework assignments that you do on paper, those are not in Canvas. So I think I've turned off that grade. You can't see your balance in Canvas for this class. Some of my classes I let Canvas average the grade, but I'm never sure whether it's doing it just right. Plus, if I do it, then if I know that you are working extra hard, you've turned in all of your assignments, your grade comes up, let's say, to a 69.3, I get the opportunity to move that to a 70. And I don't hesitate doing that. If you've turned everything in, if you have any circles in my grade book, which means that you didn't turn it in on time, I don't have a problem leaving it at 69. So you get from me what I get from you. If you're doing everything that I've asked, I don't mind giving back. We kind of have a contract, don't we? An unwritten contract. And you work for me for these 16 weeks, and I reward you with your grades. Now, do I have students that get A's in here? Yes, I do. And do I have students that don't pass the class? Yes. When you take it the third time, you have to pay extra. Why would you want to take it again? You wouldn't. So don't do it again.